Hello and welcome, I'm Jack Delosa of The Entourage, offering education and advisory for high growth businesses in Australia. We're joined today by Lorenzo Coppa, who's the founder and chief executive of eStore. Now, eStore is Australia's largest independent online technology retailer, processing 10,000 orders a month, and last financial year reached revenues of over $46 million. We're joined by Lorenzo today to talk to him about his growth path and how he's achieved his current level of success. Lorenzo, thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jack.
Thank you. Now, Lorenzo, you're the first company in Australia to sell software by post order. Now, that's a fairly innovative thing to do. What made you believe that you could do it, and what sort of indicated that it was going to be a good move?
I was working for an organisation in Germany and saw how the mail order business model operated out there and was really impressed by it. And having worked part-time in retail for about 7 years, I thought this was a substantial competitive advantage over traditional retail in that you save a lot of time and money by ordering over the telephone. So basically I copied the business model idea from an organisation in Germany and then adopted it to the Australian marketplace.
Now, we hear a lot about that happening, like Ruslan Kogan getting his idea from America, for instance. What were some of the challenges, I suppose, in bringing that business model over to Australia, and was there any issues in getting it to translate to the Australian market?
Yeah, absolutely. What I discovered when I came here is that mail order businesses had a pretty poor reputation in Australia. They were known for selling third-rate products that didn't survive retail, very long lead times to get delivery, and basically the image was free steak knives and dodgy operators. So I wanted to move right away from that. So I thought, if I'm going to persuade Australians to buy and hand their credit card details over the telephone, which nobody accepted credit card payment over the telephone in '91, I really have to shock the Australian marketplace's perception of what is mail order about.
Yeah.
So we stocked only the very best products. We offered same-day dispatch, and we're very easy to interface with as an organisation. And so we were hoping that, because it was so different from what people were expecting about mail order, that they would actually give it a go.
Yeah.
And when they've had a positive experience, to rave about us to their friends.
Yeah.
So referrals was a key part of launching it into the Australian marketplace. We had more than 40% of our orders coming in was referral business from customers raving about what we do to their friends.
It's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Now, you found, how long ago did you found the business?
1991.
91. So you've been going for 20 years now.
20 years.
20 years. Mm. So you've navigated the business from concept to seed stage through startup and expansion to what it is today. There's no sort of user's manual in business. How have you navigated the different stages of the development? Well,
firstly, I think you need to be very clear about how you're differentiating yourself from other competitors in the marketplace, and why is what you're doing serving a customer's need better than another organisation. And then get some gut feel and best guesses about the traction that you might get in the marketplace, and model that business to be financially viable. So what's the amount of orders you'd need a day? How are you going to track that many orders in a day? What's all involved in the processes and so forth. So I'd studied a bit of operations research and statistical forecasting and so forth. So that was so I started off doing an analysis on the entire market in Australia, looking at the frequencies of products advertised, price points products were advertised for and so forth, and assumed that there was a correlation between frequency and how many times, how often it's purchased in the market. And then set myself some goals around that. So our goal for year one was $1 million in sales. Year two, in the March, we were going to do $250,000, and then $500K in the March, $500K for the June afterwards, and then $1 million in the June after that. So that was basically the initial trajectory.
How'd you go?
And then, we met those targets. Yeah, $1 million was Christmas morning. Wow. And I didn't really care how much we sold after that in the Christmas break. We did a little bit shy in the March. We did 226K, and we did 503 in the June.
Okay, so slow months then.
Yeah, slow months. So, but we worked backwards from that, So all of our advertising and how much money we'd need and all that sort of thing was worked out from backwards from there.
Sure. So that's quite rapid growth, quite immediately. What do you attribute that growth to? You mentioned doing some research and stuff around the numbers of the market. So what, I guess the question is two things. What do you attribute the growth to early? And then the more long-term growth you've experienced, what's that as a result of?
I think a clear, understandable business model to the consumer that's not confusing to understand, because ultimately if customers aren't voting with their credit cards, well, you're not really that relevant to the marketplace. So I think you need to have the customer on board to start off with. Secondly, getting the right vendors and suppliers and so forth on board. And that was quite a challenge because nobody's seen that model operate in Australia. In fact, they've seen that model in Australia, but they all went broke. So there was no example of a successful model of business operating in Australia. And then thirdly, getting all the operations and financial models right. And always listening to your customers and trying to be innovative. So customers will tell you how to sell to them ultimately, but they'll always communicate perceived needs. And so to try and understand what their real needs are and come up with a solution that they haven't necessarily seen before, and be an early adopter of innovative ways of serving customers, I think always puts you on the forefront, and that's been fundamentally what's been driving our business going forward.
Sure.
So, and that's why we got into online, because we heard about that, and I thought this is great. This is just another way of ordering from an operation that we already have, rather than a fax machine or a telephone. People can go 24/7 on a website and find out what you sell and what you do, and we can sell to people that don't like being sold to, and we can also reach people over the internet that we never thought we'd be able to reach earlier.
And it's interesting what you say around speaking to consumers when you do have an innovative business model. I think it was Henry Ford who said, if I had have asked my consumers what they want, they would have said a faster horse. So it doesn't always correlate when you're innovating at the pace which eStore are.